Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Oh,
Good
sorry.
evening, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me this evening. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and I do not take this for granted. I'm trusting God to help us. That this is not just going to be like regular. It's going to help us not just to cope, but to thrive when there are challenges at home. All right, so without wasting much of our time, I'll just delve straight into the topic. Um, I intend sharing my screen. Is that okay?
No problem, ma'am. It's fine, ma'am.
Mhm. It's not that. Sorry. Okay. One second. Um, okay, just a moment. Okay. Um, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, ma'am. I can see
Yes, we
it, ma'am.
can.
Right. So, like I said, thank you so much, and thank you for being here, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share this with each and every one of us. All right. So, I'll be talking from my little experience of working with people, young people, and whole and friends from what have in our interaction, in our daily interactions, and people that have had experiences. I think for each and every one of us, there are times that we've had. There would have been a time that we've had life challenges at home, and sometimes the home that is supposed to be like a safe haven becomes like a hot place that we wouldn't want to go. So it's just now depends on how long it takes for some people. Some people it's just a very short while and it's over and they're able to continue with their normal lives. And for some other people, it's not just a short period of time, but for a very long period of time, which eventually kind of affects their life experiences and how some people eventually turn out. Okay, so the goal today is just to talk about those challenges and ways to cope, and not just to cope, to grow and thrive despite these challenges. All right, so before we go forward, I just want us to have an open discussion. I just want us to talk about when we talk about life challenges at home, trouble at home, what comes to our mind? What do we think we're talking about? Probably from personal experience or from other people's experiences. What do we think we're referring to? Can we can use the chat box and we could also unmute. So what are the common examples of challenges that young people, not just young people, I think we're all young people really, that we face at home? Hello?
Hello, ma'am. We can hear you, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm waiting for examples. It's a discussion now. So I'm asking for common examples of challenges that people face at home.
Okay, ma'am. I think for me, I would say maybe finances.
Yes, that's it. Finance is a major
Finances,
one.
or maybe a deteriorating health of one parent or the other, or
Exactly.
maybe someone close to them.
Yeah, death of a loved one. Yep. Do we have any other person that wants to try?
I think I would also love to add maybe like maybe if one is coming from a separate home, like maybe in a home where the father and the mother have been separated.
Okay, divorced. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. That's actually it. The things you mentioned now, they are things that we want to talk about. So we'll be looking at everyday struggles that young people, when I say young people, don't look at it like, oh, people that are young. At least I think Baba Diboye said is still young. So, and I think all of us here, we are younger than him. So that means that includes all of us, right? So everyday struggles young people face at home. So some of the struggle is family conflicts, just like someone said, family conflict that could result into divorce. And I've seen this a lot of time. I've seen this, how it has affected a lot of young people. And the way it is, it affects some people right from when they were way younger into adulthood. So it's for a lot of people, probably when there's family conflicts, now the parent has to go in different ways. It's kind of go beyond just that period. If not properly managed, it will run into adulthood. Another very common one is financial difficulties. So some people say most of our problems is basically finances, because I know that sometimes when people don't have the financial capability, sometimes people get to become aggressive, people get to become angry, things that you shouldn't have gotten angry over on a normal ground. You can just become very angry over it, just because of financial difficulties. And it doesn't just affect the parents, it rubs on the children, it rubs on everybody. Okay, then unsupportive parents, because sometimes one of the challenges that many young people face these days is like they feeling that parents are not supportive, or their parents are too strict. And sometimes even if we are saying we're disciplining children, let me say that, for example, we still need to bring in some kind of love, such that anyone who you're disciplining can say that, okay, this is not just from a place of hatred, but from a place of love. Same thing for partners. You find out that so many marriages are in so many problems these days, because one partner feels the other person is not supportive. Probably the feeling this person is not supportive of their dreams, of their visions, or the things that makes them happy. So those are part of the everyday struggles that people face at home. Another one is emotional neglect or lack of communication. You know, the Bible says, can two work together unless they agree? So, and you can't say you agree with somebody if you don't communicate with that person. So it's important that we communicate. So, and the moment in the family where there's a bridge in communication, it's kinds of tell on everybody. So it's just like sometimes, and it's the same way when there is when we don't have good communication in the family, that's when the devil is able to have a loophole. That's when you see rumors. That's when maybe somebody heard something, instead of it to talk about it, you start grumbling, you start using that to behave. And there is a way it's kind of runs through everyone involved in the family. Okay, and another is abuse or unsafe environments. So situations that are physically or emotionally harmful. Okay, one of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the top, some of it are just psychological. So sometimes beyond the physical needs, when people feel their emotional needs are not being met, when young people feel their emotional needs are not being met, there is a way it kind of affects our turnouts. There's a way it affects our disposition to life. All right. Another one is pressure and expectations. Okay. So sometimes we kind of put high expectations on people. And I remember I met somebody, and basically this young girl wanted to do something else, but because of the kind of family she came from, everyone is a scholar and they expected her to do that, but she wanted something else. And you know, there is a way it's kind of affected her because of the kind of pressure. It's just like when they say you put a fish on the land. Okay, so that's one of the things that pressure would do. When when you place a fish on the land instead of the proper place where it's supposed to thrive, like in the ocean, the fish is not going to be at its best. Eventually, if the fish is not returned to the ocean, the fish is going to die. So that's what pressure and high expectations do, or that's how much it affects the people in the family. Let me say young people. All right, and the last one I'll be talking about here is sibling rivalry. This is something that is so common in so many family. And when there is sibling rivalry, automatically there will be some kind of hatred. There will be some kind of unnecessary comparison of or competition among family members, among young people, and it's kinds of rob on the way God has created the family. It's from the family that extends into the society. So that's why you find out that when you find out that so many young people are misbehaving or they're not doing properly in the society, find out what happens most of the time. It's usually from the home. It's usually from the home front. So sibling rivalry is one of the everyday struggles that young people faces. And this is just also an opportunity for me to plead to parents. Sometimes it's actually not easy because we are just humans, and we kind of tend to move our emotions to one side. Sometimes you find out that, let's say, a parent that has 2 kids, for example, you find out that one is so loving, one is so attaching, coming close to you when you want the child to. Probably you give an instruction, the child is up and doing that for you. It's just natural, kind of, excuse me, for you to have affection towards that child. And probably the second child is the one that is we feel is rebellious. Let me use that word. And what happens? We kind of make some comparison statements like, "Your brother is not like that. Can't you be like your sister?" You know, those kind of words. They are seeds, and the more the child hears that, the more the person begins to feel, oh, I'm not better. And it's not just a temporary thing, it grows into adulthood. That's why you find out that some brothers, as they grow older, they'll be like, oh, I think they're brothers, and why are they acting like enemies? Sometimes it has just been as a result of sibling rivalry that's been from childhood, that has affected people into adulthood. So like I said, it's okay to feel upset. It's okay to feel stressed or overwhelmed. I don't intend dwelling so much on the challenges, but on how we can thrive and excel. Now, all of these challenges, they don't just stop as challenges, they progress. And what happens? They kind of have effects on us, on the individuals that are affected. So sometimes these effects could have emotional impacts, which grows into adulthood, marriage, and it continues to run. And the way it is, sometimes we pass on aggression, we pass on our sadness. That's why you see some people saying, don't bring your negative vibe, you know. It's just because you're trying to guide yourself. So all of these things, they don't just stop. They kind of go forward, and it kind of affects our disposition to life if not properly managed. So emotional impacts could be result of anxiety. You just see some people, once they just pick a call, they are anxious, they're scared. These things are not just something that happened in a time. It's something that has happened over time and has affected the way of life of the person. And you know, the way anxiety can lead to blood pressure, can lead to death eventually for some people. So it's things that we need to watch. Okay, and some of the emotional impacts could also be isolation. Sometimes when you begin to see an adult or a young person begin to get isolated from others, maybe somebody that is used to be very lively, and all of a sudden the person is not lively anymore. The person is not interested in things again. then there is a need for us to be interested in knowing whatever is happening with them. So for some people, it's school performance, difficulty concentrating, not just school performance, actually, even work performance. If there is a trouble at home, it's difficult to function at your optimal, even at work. So it's not just something in school, it also affects the social life. So, and it goes on to relationship. That's why you find out a lot of people, they are struggling, probably a child that has experienced divorce from the parents, and let's say the child is really close to the father, and the child has developed a very good relationship with the father, but eventually something happened, and the parents need to separate, and eventually probably the father decides to go and the child remains with the mother. You hear the child, there's something that is already building up. The person is beginning to see, oh, that's when you hear some people, they'll tell you, you cannot trust men. When you ask some of those people, like, okay, what exactly happened? You find out that it's probably because of their father. So some people say you cannot trust women. It's just both ways. So it's kind of makes people struggle with trust, friendship, and that's why I remember there was a particular child when I was working in one of the schools, and this child is 13, yeah, is 13 years old, and then he's so hostile and so rude. When I say someone is so rude, it's so rude, and so at times, the way the special needs kids really, they can sometimes they're in happy mood, sometimes they're in the not so good mood. So if it is not so good mood, sorry, the best is just to avoid him really. But if the child is in his good moods, he has some people he opens up to, and they'll tell you that, yeah, do you know why I'm so rude? I'm like, why are you so rude? I'm like, because I don't trust anybody. Anytime you could decide to leave. So why should I be your friend? Then after a year, you decide to leave me alone. And I could kind of understand the child, because that that person is already, that child is struggling with trust, that child is struggling with friendship. Now imagine such a child if eventually he gets married. So insecurity, you're unable to trust your spouse, and what happens eventually, if care is not taken, if that marriage is not properly managed, eventually there'll be divorce. And you can imagine if there is a child or children in the marriage, you can just imagine the way the cycle goes on and on and on. Okay, so another effect is it could affect physical health, like sleep problems, stress, and crime and death. All right. So this is where we're going. Healthy coping strategies. It's okay to like they would say, your background should not determine where you're going. So it's okay. Sometimes the truth is we don't determine where we're from. We don't have a choice. We don't pick, like, this is where I want my parents to be. This is who I want. This is the country I want to come from. And I can imagine if God would call each and every one of us and say, oh, it's in the wood you want to choose as a parent. I can imagine what I'm going to choose. But I'll still choose my parents. Or they could ask me, like, which country would you want to come from? Oh my God. I'm not sure if I'm going to choose where I'm from now. Well, but the truth is, for a lot of us, it's not like God invited us and said, oh, you'll be coming from this family, or you'll be coming from this country. No, we have a lot of choices in the beginning. But the good thing is that we have the opportunity to make choices along the way and determine the end. So the beginning is not as important as the end. So it's the end that is more important. So let's assume one is going through all of the challenges we've talked about. All of these challenges have had those effects on one, but it's in your power to decide how you're going to end. So looking at the coping strategies, healthy coping strategies, talking to someone, because this is really, really important. Life can sometimes feel overbearing, and where we look for relief is just as important as the reason why we need it. Okay, so but actually we're not meant to bear the burden or the weight of our life's burden alone. It's important that we ask for help. All right, so before we continue, I want us to look at this quote beside us. I would want us to read it together and take a moment to digest it. All right, so we're reading the quote on the left-hand side, and it says, God won't allow
anything
to happen in your life if it's not for your good. This is from Nick Vujicic. And I can imagine if he is saying this, we're going to talk about him later, and he's saying God won't allow anything to happen in your life if it's not for your good. Sometimes that can really be difficult to understand. Probably when someone loses a loved one, this is really difficult to comprehend. Or when something terrible has happened, or probably someone frames one of something you're innocent of. Of course, at that point, it's so difficult to think that God won't allow anything to happen in your life if it's not for your good, because you can't just fathom what good is in that. But I can tell you that there is a good in it. We might not see the good immediately, but there is a good in it. All right, so one of the healthy coping strategy we should do is talking to someone. And the devil is so good at something. The moment he wants to kill, he's going to withdraw you from others. It's going to make you not to talk to someone. All you want it to do is to be quiet, and that's a death trap. So one of the good things is talking to someone, talking to people. 2 days ago, I was talking to my younger brother, and one of his friends that I used to know when I was at home, he was just telling me that he committed suicide. I was just screaming. I was like, why? What happened to him? Like, you know, in my head, I was just like, why would he commit suicide? I just had so many questions, and I was asking my brother, like, what happened? He was just like, he doesn't know. That he saw him like a day before. I think the day he committed the suicide. My brother said he saw him. I was like, did you guys not talk? He was like, no, he just kept quiet. He didn't say anything. That before then he's been moody and all of that, you know. That's what the devil does. So one of the things you want to do is that nobody understands. And the moment that thought is coming to your head, like nobody understands, nobody will know how I feel, that's a way the devil wants us to keep quiet, and that's a death trap. So one of the ways to do this is to talk to someone. We should manage our emotions. We should learn to create a safe space. I just saw my time now that I've gone to my, okay, we should try to create a safe space for ourselves. We should build confidence, and confidence is not something that happens like magic. It's something that happens with time. When we're able to practice, when we're able to kind of recognize what God is doing in our lives, no matter how small, those things are things that help us to build confidence. Let me quickly talk about managing emotions. This is really important. One of the ways for me personally that I manage my emotions is journaling. I love writing down. Initially, I thought that's something I don't like, but over time, I've realized how much journaling has changed my life a lot. When anything is wrong, I kind of write it down. I kind of think about everything. And that's why sometimes the things that made me upset, probably in the office, by the time I write it down, I write it down in the evening, I would just realize that, that thing is not really something that should make me upset. So journaling is really, really, really good. It's something that people could use. Another one is mindfulness. Oh, that's also very good. Sometimes when I feel so stressed, I just go away from everything and sit down and really relax. So that kind of help you breathe, and you begin to see a better perspective of things. So mindfulness, so building confidence, avoid negative coping mechanism. That's something that people have been doing a lot. When people get sad, they go to drugs, they go to drinking, alcohol, isolations. All of those things are not good for us, and it should not help us to overcome the challenges. And lastly, here is running to Jesus. Okay, so Jesus is the author and the perfecter of our faith, and he understands whatever it is that we're going through, because he's able to help us. An example of somebody that does that is Nick, because I watch his videos a lot, and he just tell you that he finds solace in Jesus. Despite the bullying experience and everything, he finds solace in Jesus. Okay, so here I just want us to look at these people. There are people that they have experienced terrible things at home, but these people, they have thrived and they have succeeded, and there are patterns that we could look at. Because of our time, I'll not be talking too much on their stories, really. So this is Oprah Winfrey. That's the first person there. So she grew up in poverty in a rural area, and according to her story, she faced a lot of challenges: abuse, instability, neglect. Even I heard the story of when she wanted to be in the media, how she was rejected. But here she is today. She's a celebrity. Here she is today. She's somebody that is helping others to find their purpose. Okay. This is Chimamanda Achebe. At least she's the Nigerian, and she's after the war, the family lost a lot, lost all what they had, but eventually she was able to find herself. She was able to use storytelling, and I'm sure so many of us, we know one of our books, Half of a Yellow Sun. I remember reading that, and how she has told African stories, and she's someone that is on the global stage this day. Okay, so your circumstances don't define your future. Determination and self-belief is something that we should hold on to, that will help us to achieve whatever goal we want to have. Okay, and this is Ben Carson. I'm sure we know about the Sissemin twin, and he's a neurosurgeon. So he's somebody that was believed that he's not going to be successful, probably because of his academic challenge, and he did well. He did well and he thrived. So we shouldn't forget, sometimes our background is not what is going to determine our future. It's not about where we started, but wherever you are, that's your starting point. And here is sometimes I struggle with pronouncing his name, really. Vujicic. Okay, so he was born without arms or legs, so he faced bullying, depression. I don't even know how he really coped, but the good thing he said he found his solace in Jesus, and he's doing so well. He's a model to a lot of people. He has inspired a lot of people, including myself. And this is Joseph, coat of many colors. We know his story, how the brothers betrayed him, and despite all of that, he could still forgive, and we can see how God blessed him. So this is really, really important, that we always remember these people. There is nothing that you're going through that some people has not gone through. The devil might tell us that, oh, nobody understands. Yes, sometimes it might be so difficult to express ourselves when we're going through a difficult time, but we should know that some people have walked this journey and they've succeeded. So no matter what it is, you also will succeed. In Jesus' name. All right. Then this is sorry. Okay, so when to seek help? If the home is unsafe, it's important that we seek help. Some situations need outside help, and that's okay. So we need to seek help at that point. If our mental health is significantly affected, and where do we go if we need the support? For people in school, there are school counselors. There are some support groups that I know of. There are some youth support groups, local organizations, helpline, and the church is a starting point. It's a place we should seek up. So the moment we begin to see signs of fear, harm, feeling hopeless, that time, it's a time for us to speak up. It's a time for us to seek help and I pray that the help is going to help us to thrive. Okay, so looking ahead with hope, like in the book of Philippians chapter 3, verse 13, said, brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. So it's important. We should always look up to Jesus, really. There's a lot of things that are ahead for us. We should talk to people. We should seek help. We should never keep quiet. And we should seek people that are models that have gone through this path and see how we can go about it. So sometimes we shouldn't, the devil would want us to think about ourselves that something bad is happening. Yes, that's true. Something bad has happened, but we can still move forward. The Bible says in Jeremiah 29:11, says, find not the thought I have towards you, thoughts of good to give you a future and an expected end. So no matter what you're going through, no matter what you've gone through, and you feel nobody understands, really, there's a future. All we need to do is seek help. There's help. Help is available. There's help available. We shouldn't keep quiet, and we should keep going forward. Even when it feels hard, just know that you're not alone, and seek help. Whether we are adapting to change or wanting everything around us to change, transitions are really tough, yes, but prayer is a divine helpline, and every word we utter or tears that we shed is an expression of our hearts to God, and we are told to come boldly to the throne of God. No matter how difficult it is, we should trust in God, and it can help us resolve every of our life difficulties or every of our life challenges, because only Him really can help. We can try our best as humans, but even the healing actually starts with God, really, and doing every other thing possible, persevering, being resilient. You're looking at the end goal, that this is what I want to do. So irrespective of wherever we've come from, as a wherever experiences we've had as a child or as a young adult, or even as a woman, married man or married woman, there is hope. But we need to embrace the hope, because that's where the healing starts from, and God will see us through. All right, so I think, yeah, I've used 30 minutes now, so I think that's all for now, and I can give space for us to ask questions. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Thank you for such an insightful teaching. Please, if anyone has questions, you can probably turn on your mic, or you also put it in the chat box. Please, if you have any questions, you can also signify so that we can take questions. Anybody? Please, let's feel free to ask our questions now. You might not know,
Please
you might
ask
be
the
asking for
question.
somebody else. Okay, no questions, or should I give like 1 or 2 minutes? Please, if you have any question, you can signify by raising your hands, or better still, drop it in the chat box. Okay. Okay, I think while we wait till there are still any more questions, Ma, I have some few questions I would like to ask you, Ma. Okay, so and the first question I have here is, how can trouble at home affect a person's mental and emotional well-being?
Okay.
Because in this our world now, for we ladies, they say once a particular area of a lady's life is affected, this, every other area is affected too. So how can trouble at home affect a person's mental and emotional well-being?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Over to
All
you,
right.
ma'am.
Okay. Thank
Yes,
you
ma'am.
very much. Yeah. Really, problems in the house, troubles at home can actually affect one's mental and emotional well-being, because when there is trouble at home, that is where your mind will be. And sometimes things that are not even supposed to get you upset will get you upset. And if that is not checked, it can change your personality. It can change who you are. You that probably people used to think, oh, Yetunde is a very nice girl. She smiles, she does this, she's always happy, and she's doing so well in her office, this and this, that's it. But the moment there's problem at home, your mind is there. Your peace has been taken away. Part of your peace, part of your life is kind of disturbed. So that way, you that used to be a smiley person is no longer a smiling person. You that used to be a happy person is no longer a happy person. You that you're not disturbed. So once let's assume somebody that is being abused, let's say partners now, that is being abused, the moment when you're going home that you're supposed to be happy, you're already sad, you're fidgeting, you're scared, someone can say hello, you just scream. That way you're becoming affected. So that's why we'll see some people, they end up in homes that they're not supposed to be. Maybe psychologically they get affected and it goes really, really bad. So when there's trouble at home, irrespective of whatever trouble it is, if it is not properly managed, it could affect our mental well-being. I hope I've answered that question, really.
Yes, ma. Thank you very much, ma. Thank you for that. That
Thank
means
you.
it's the person mind. If I picked one thing, is the person mind will be there, which tends to affect every other things in the person's life. But ma, I don't know. I would like to ask this question. It just popped up when you were answering the question. Okay, ma, what do we say about people that maybe they say they are bipolar? Like, I don't know, can you just please throw a little more light on that? Because I think I had a story of a friend of mine like that. When I was in school, I think that was my 100 level days. And before you know it, any small thing, she's out of it. And it takes, we that we know she's in that kind of state. Because for someone like me now, she opened up to me. So she told me some kind of symptoms she has if this thing comes up. But in a state that I'm not there and every other person around that doesn't understand what is going on. What is your say on when they say people have bipolar or they are bipolar?
Well, I'm not a medical person, but I'll just talk
Yes,
based
my
on.
get one.
Yeah, so this is not disclaimer, this is not an expert's opinion. This is my personal opinion, okay? All right, so from my understanding of bipolar disorder, I know it's a mental health conditions that has to do with people having extreme mood swings. So they could be really happy and they could be really sad. But the truth is they don't have control over how they feel. Okay. So really sometimes this could be as the result of accumulated problems, troubles, challenges that they've had over time. And this has kind of affected their day-to-day activities. It has affected their way of life, their moods. So that's just it really, because it could just be as a result of issues or problems that have compiled together and has affected them. So sometimes anything could actually trigger the way they behave. Something, they can just go into a very deep mood and they're so sad. But the truth is, when you find out, it could be as a result of this trouble that has accumulated in some people. Like I said, I'm not a medical person, so I can't say that is the basic thing, but really that's if those troubles are not well managed, it could result into that. And that's like an extreme.
Thank you very much. I understand, but then I don't know. The question just popped up because I think I've had scenarios of people saying, "I know this person is bipolar," and like I mean, amidst we youth, And it's more or less like as if it's a ringing tone. Bipolar, bipolar, bipolar. So I just thought to try the question. Okay, I have
I
another
think,
question
sorry, I
here.
think, sorry, let me quickly answer that. I think with people these
Okay.
days, I find out, I don't really understand the trend really, but I find out that we have a lot of things that are just very funny. I've heard a lot some people saying they have ADHD by themselves without being diagnosed. Probably they just see one or two symptoms and they just say, I have this, or this person has bipolar. But really, I think it's just a very strange trend that I see people, I'll see some people saying, I have OCD, and I'm like, God forbid, that's not something good that you should cause yourself. But really, in as much as they've not been diagnosed, there is no reason for us to say this person has this, really, unless the person has been diagnosed.
Very much more for striking a balance there too. Okay, I also like to move to the next question, and it's how important is it to talk to someone when you are feeling overwhelmed at home? Let's just say in cases of scenario of maybe someone saying and people that don't really like to open up, or they just want to go through their problems themselves. And how important is it to talk to somebody when you are feeling overwhelmed at home?
Okay, if I get you clearly, the question is like, how important is it for you to open up when you're feeling overwhelmed, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Really, I don't know about some people, but personally, well, I know that we're all different. Some people really enjoy talking. Like, I know I enjoy talking. I love gisting. And one of the ways for you to know that something is wrong with me is the moment I start withdrawing personally. But I know some people that even if they are stressed, one of their ways to, for me, one of the ways I overcome my challenges really is talking to somebody. I just need to, that thing should just leave my mind. And the moment I'm able to do that, I am fine. But we actually have some people too. One of the ways that they are able to overcome some of the things disturbing them is being on their own and reflecting. At least I know a person that when something is wrong with him, he's not the type that will talk to you immediately. It'll take time. Sit down, think, do whatever helps him to relax. Then he can eventually say, this is what happened. I want to do this. But the truth is, but the thing we have to do is, especially if they are our friend, we know them. It's easy for you to say, if you're my friend, for example, you already know my kind of person that I love gisting, I love talking. So the moment you see me withdrawing, there's a problem with me. And the best way I can be free is to actually open up, because a problem shared is a problem half solved. So the moment you're able to talk, one of the lies of the devil is to make you go in a corner and begin to think something that is not supposed to be very serious. You make you, I don't know if we have we ever thought of that. And sometimes maybe a friend does something to us and we feel very offended, and the devil will make that thing so big, like it will do you like, if I see this person, you should give the person a very dirty slap. But funny enough, when you now go to the person and say, you did this, and the person will be like, oh, that's not what I meant. And you find out that it's not even something for you to, for something that is supposed to take your peace away. So it's really, really important that when you're experiencing fear, when you're experiencing thinking about self-harm, that you begin to talk to people. That way, you're getting your healing. Sometimes all you need to do is just listen. You just need somebody to listen, even if the person has no solution. Just listening heals you on its own. So it's really important. And if you're the type that, if you know that this person is the type that wants to be on their own, watch it, but it shouldn't go far. It shouldn't go far. The moment it's going far, you're beginning to think of self-harming yourself or another person. That's a dangerous time. That's a time for you to speak up and shout and call for help. Because the moment you're able to say it out, the devil knows that somehow he has been defeated. So it's really important that when all of these thoughts are in our mind, we speak out and we call for help.
Oh, thank you very much, ma. I really got that in a very explanatory way. And please, if you know you are getting something in the meeting, please you can just write something in the chat box. Thank you very much. Okay, so I have two more questions here to
Okay.
ask you, ma, which in a way you answered one of them, but you can still help us and throw small light. Okay, so it's how can we be more understanding and supportive of friends who are going through hard time at home? I have a friend that is going through an hard time and I want to be there for her, but how can I be supportive without it looking like maybe I'm bugging her or I'm reminding her of what she's going through or
Mm,
I don't even care at all? How
okay.
can we be supportive?
Okay. One of the lesson I've been learning these days is that we know in parts, and that's one. It has become like a quote for me. Kind of sometimes when I'm talking about something, because of these days, as we grow daily, we sometimes realize that we don't even know anything. They say the more you know, the more you see, or something like that, or the more you see, the more you know something. But the truth is, you might think, oh, this is the way it is, and you're so confident, but always give that space for what if. And that's the same way it is when we have a friend that is going through challenges at home. It's important we know them because the person is our friend. It's important we know how they kind of how to comfort them, right? How they want to be comforted. Yes, exactly. That's it. So if it's somebody that we feel, oh, this person do like some one of the things I do to my friends, sometimes I just sit there. Sometimes you don't even need to talk. Sometimes you don't even you just be there. And in my heart, sometimes all I do is I just keep praying in my heart as the person is sharing their challenges with me. I just keep praying in my heart, like, God, what do I say? What do I say? What should I say? Because the truth is, what works for A might not work for B. So because you have tried it and it has worked with somebody, that doesn't mean that it will work for this person. So sometimes we need to breathe ourselves. Sometimes to when you hear some people's challenges, even yourself, if you're not careful, you can be mentally affected. I think a few times I've heard some people have shared some of their challenges with me. And personally, I got a bit affected because I was, sometimes you just carry the burden kind of, and you also need help at that point. So if you have a friend that is having challenges at home, the best thing is you yourself, you need to breathe first and see how the person wants to be supported. If the person wants you to be there just to listen, that's not the time to say, I understand, because the truth is, we can't even understand. We can't say, this is how they feel. It's the person that the shoe bites their legs that really know exactly. So don't say, oh, I understand because I've lost a loved person before. No, it's not the same thing for everybody. So we can just be there at that moment, just to be a company. Then over time, if they begin to open up a bit, you can read the language that they want to talk. And at that point too, we give it space. We can't say everything at once. So we can just be saying it in bits. Oh, okay, as they're talking, we have listened, active listening, and we can try saying, oh, how about this? Should we take fresh air? Should we take a walk? And from there, if it's somebody that wants to talk, you allow the person. The truth is, there's no way you want to help somebody. The person needs to be ready. So you allow the person to really say, oh, this is what is happening. Then you don't overemphasize it and you just talk it out in bits. You can talk about it today, a bit. Tomorrow, you say a bit. So it's not something you want to finish in a day, so that you can see how the person progresses and help the person overcome their challenges, really. So it's really about the person most times. It's not about you. It's about the person. So if you're not too sure how to help the person, really, you can be there for the person. Just be there without saying anything sometimes. And keep praying and keep praying. The moment you see, sometimes you see the sign when you're ready to talk, then you'll be able to say, okay, this is what you can do. You can speak to a counselor if it's something you cannot handle. You can talk to people in church if it's something you can. So any of those strategies we've talked about, we can offer it to them and see how much God helps them. I hope I've answered that. Thank you.
Yes, ma. Thank you very much, ma. So I think I'll just say what stood out for me is listening. Just be there, even if you don't really necessarily know what to do. Then studying the person to know what works best in terms of comfort. Thank you very much, ma. Thank you. I'm really blessed. I'm
Thank
really
you.
blessed. So on to the last question for today.
Okay.
Um, okay, what are some respectful ways to offer support without pushing somebody? Okay, without pushing someone to share more than they are comfortable with. Because I think I once had a friend of mine, I think two of them in two different scenarios. One saying, if I tell you something is going on with me, at least keep asking me to check up on me to know whether I'm fine. And one is like, if I tell you what is going on with me, don't just ask me again. The moment you ask me, then I will never tell you anything again. And you are trying to balance balance on the two sides.
Yeah.
So what are the respectful ways to offer support without pushing someone to too much of what they can share?
I think somehow they've told you, like each of them, they've told you how they want to be supported. The first person
Yeah.
said, I want you to keep up. So that's so clear. Just keep up. Ask about the person, follow up, ask about the incident. How have you done? And you suggest things that you feel, oh, is good that they could do. You could share resources with them. So that way you can, if they say, oh, I want to do this, don't, we're not Jesus, really. We're not Jesus. So we can't solve people's problem like that will carry it, but we can just really be there, really. So if the person said, do this is how I want to be comforted, keep sending me messages, then do that. Then the other person then keep sending encouraging words. And the other person that said, oh, this is how I want to be comforted, don't talk to me about it again. Fine. You can't just leave the person quite all right. But if the person says, don't mention that thing again, of course, the person is your friend. There are so many other things that you could talk about. So if, for example, he's a friend and I know that the person has told me that, yes, they don't mention about that problem, fine. The next day I could decide to send you a message and say, did you, let's say it's somebody that watches football, for example, I could say, did you watch yesterday's match? Indirectly, I'm just checking on the person, really. It's not like it's the match, but I'm just checking on the person so that person can know that I'm still here. And if they feel like opening up to me, that's fine. And if they feel, they want to keep it at that time, that's fine. There's no pressure. It's healing is not something that happens like magic, really. It takes time for some people. So give them that space, but you can just be there like, do you want to just don't do things that can offend them, really, like trying to say, should I tell mommy, should I tell uncle, or tell somebody that they don't want to share? So we could just tell them, just check on them without talking about the thing, like, oh, did you watch this? Do you want to go for this place? Did you hear this gist? Just for them to know that somebody is there, and that's all, really. Thank you very much.
Okay,
I hope
Ma, I would just like to, bring something out, and is the part of, these two scenarios I gave were because we had a time for, let's say, heart to heart talk. But imagine in a scenario whereby I've not necessarily had an heart to heart talk with the person or asking the person, how do you want like this to be handled when they are going through things like this? Then how can I handle it?
yeah, just
I
the
don't know
way.
whether you get the
Yeah, I
question
guess
now.
it. Oh, let's assume the person has not told you how they want to be supported, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So sometimes we just have to read the verbal and non-verbal language. So if I sometimes when I'm talking with somebody, just the way they respond to me, I know that this person doesn't want to talk about it. And some people, they don't want to talk about it for that moment. And some people, they don't even want to talk about it at all. So if I ask you, let's assume somebody told me that their parents just separated and it's affecting them. Maybe in a few days after, I could ask, oh, how are you coping now? Where do you live? Or how are you eating or something, if I don't want to go directly. So indirectly, I'm saying something around it, but not directly. So if the person wants to talk, the person can say, it has not been easy since mommy left. So I know that that person wants to talk about it. Then I can take it on from there. But if the person, let's say I ask the person, how are you coping now? How are you people? Most of your younger one, and the person decides to say, are you coming to school tomorrow? There's no need. I already know I got the message. that means the person doesn't want to talk to me about it at that moment. So I can leave it, give it time, then ask again. And if I see that the person still gives me the same attitude, that means the person doesn't want to talk about it, then I'll let it be. And if the person responds positively this time around, that means the person wants to talk about it now. And that's fine, because I myself sometimes too, as much as I like to talk about things as they ought, kind of, I know that there are times that at that moment, if I talk about it, I'm going to cry and mess up things and probably say things I don't want to say. I'll just keep quiet. And after some time, and I'm like, okay, this is what happened. So it could be like that for some people too. So we should just read how they respond. Then we'll take it up from them, really. It's about them. It's not about you. So, and don't forget, we are not Jesus, really. And everybody have a way they want to be supported. So if we really care and we don't want to turn their life problems into a gist, we'll take it at their pace, really. That's how it is. Thank you. I hope I answered.
Thank you very much.